Hi guys, really good to meet you. I'm Devstar, I'm the DJ coach at Toolroom Academy. And I'm going to talk about, in 10 minutes, as best I can, 10 minutes worth of my 16-hour course on the Toolroom Academy website about how to get more creative with your DJ performances by utilising Rekordbox slightly differently. So a little bit about me. I'm a DJ first. So I started DJing when I was about 15 years old. And back then, garage was really booming. And I was too young to go out to clubs. But I used to listen to these tape pack recordings of like the, recordings of people playing out. And they would take recordings of the source audio and the crowd audio as well, right? And what I loved about garage raves was, this isn't a garage event, but what I loved about garage style was the DJ was always trying to get one up over the crowd. There was lots of chopping in and out of tracks. And the DJ was there adding value. They were bringing more than the sum of the parts of the tracks they were playing. They were bringing something else to the table. And that's an ethos I've taken across my whole DJ career, and it's something I love to get across to students. I think it's so easy with today's environment to get locked into, right, I'm making tunes in the studio, I'm getting my creative juices, but then when I play out, all I'm thinking about is what tracks I'm going to play. I'm going to go intro, outro, intro, outro, intro. That's really boring for me. So I like to think about what tracks you're going to play, but also how are you going to play them, and giving yourself options to play them in different ways. It makes DJing so much more fun, and it really stands you out in, as Carly said, a very competitive market. So I've got 8.5 minutes left. The goals of this session is to get you thinking outside of the Rekordbox, nice pun. I want you to be genuinely buzzing to get home after this, to attack your Rekordbox collection and start looking for what I'm about to talk to you about in your existing record collection. And hopefully completely change how you approach your music organisation and DJing forever. So in 8 minutes, I like to set high goals for myself. So we can do it. Thanks, Pete. So how are we going to do this? We're going to be looking for, there's only so much I can say in 8 minutes. We're going to be looking for hidden gems in our record collection. And when you start to look for these things like a cappella solos or piano solos, you'll be absolutely shocked at how many tracks are littered with these types of little gems that you can start to use as stems and use more creatively in the mix. So little tip for this session is to look out for fewer musical elements. So when you've got your tracks in Rekordbox, look where the waveform drops, because that tends to be a kick will come out, a bass line will come out. And that's where you tend to get the solo-y sections, and you can basically steal those solo sections and use them for more imaginative mixing. So I'm going to just jump straight into Rekordbox now and show you exactly what I mean. So this is my actual Rekordbox, which is why I've got this rusty old laptop here. I've been using it for years. You can see in this column here, all of my tracks are littered with cue points, memory points, memory cue points, hot loops and hot cues. So I use those for two main reasons. One is controlling the mix, controlling where I am in the track and controlling the energy of the room. And the other is for getting creative. We're going to stick on the creative side today. So I've got a little playlist set up here. So first example here, really cool little track, as Pete alluded to earlier, Ilias and Barrientos. So this is just the normal track, right? So if we skip ahead here,
waiting oh so patiently, getting stronger, I can feel your pulse so endlessly. Feels like a dream staying.
Oh, I love this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but basically we've got a little 4-bar loop there. We can loop that over again, looping it over a track which, let's say, track A and track B being this one, but you haven't heard them together. That's basically like a live edit type feel. So already there, we're kind of starting to think about adding value. Now we've got a string here.
Getting stronger,
We've got a string and a vocal. As long as the string is roughly in the same musical key as what you're playing underneath it, that's going to be fine. It's just going to add to the overall impact. And a lot of other drum sounds like kicks, bass line, you can just get rid of by EQing it on the mixer. So even other parts of tracks which have got those musical elements, you can get rid of them, and they're basically washed out when you're in the mix. So here I've got a 4-bar loop, one of my hotkeys. But then we want to think about how we can make it a bit more interesting in the mix. So I've got another loop here.
Feels like a dream stay. Feels like a dream stay. Feels like a dream stay.
Right, I love that little loop there. It's just a bar loop, and there's so much we can do with that to create more interest when we're mixing it with tracks underneath. So let's have a look at that now. Sounds alright, we want to mix it up now. Already there's loads of interest we can create from two really tiny parts of the track. I'm going to keep it moving because I've got to be quick and there's loads I want to show you today. So we're going to go to another Ilias and Barrientos tune because these guys are the Dons. So Shout, this is an old tune track but one of my favourites. Again, this is literally just the normal track. I'm going to cycle through my hotkey points here. Right, that's a little a cappella pad style. There's so much energy in this little loop here. There's no other sounds as well, so there's loads that we can do with that. Let's keep looking. So there we've got a filter kick and a filter bass. We can get rid of that easy by low cutting on the mixer. That's just ready for me to jump back into the main part of the track when I finish playing around with it. Such a good vocal. Right, so I'm going to rearrange this one. So in the last one, we're sort of changing loop parameters to create interest. This one, I'm going to use hot cues to jump around the track whilst we're in the mix. Shout out to Dean on this one as well, really. Moving.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, crash it, change it, melt and break it, chart it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, start, format it.
So laser, another really good example of that one. And again, this is what I'm trying to get across, right? When you go back through your record collection, you will be so surprised at how many lovely little acapellas we got here. So Daft Punk were kind enough to put us an acapella at the start of this tune.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase.
For the music producers, you can go one step further. So I've set up another version of this with the pitch down.
Touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, start from touch it, bring it, pay it.
See what I mean there? We're just getting a bit more creative here. Now it's sounding a bit more like the Hannah Watson, Chris Lorenzo version. I've got one more example I want to show you, just in terms of in the mix. This one, I'm going to show you in the mix and then explain what I've done. But this is Casey Light's Soul, another really, really big Toolroom banger. So we've got the vocal, lots of atmosphere, reverbs, building up the tension. Then just before the drop, right, we can use that as an acapella. So let's put that in the mix as well. So I'm just having fun there. So with that one, I was using a tiny loop, right? That's a tiny little a cappella section. Again, another, I think that was a 2-bar loop. Looping it over, and then what I was doing, I was chopping out the track underneath it, and then going from a cappella back to the track. What that does is that creates an expectation that when we chop out, we're going to go back to that track. So it means that when you unloop the a cappella section, the crowd's kind of not ready for that to come back in. Now, if I had decks here, hopefully 3 or 4 decks, I'd go one step further and have a third track lined up. So I'll be playing the initial track, which is this one. I'd have this looping over, and then when I chop out the first track, I'll bring in my third track underneath it, carry on with the loop for a bit, And then when I'm finished with that little sequence of transitions, I'll chop back to the vocal and then unloop the vocal and then allow that track to play out. So it's basically, this is like power mixing, right? And this is such a good way to liven up a dance floor, get people off their phone, start looking at, shit, the DJ's doing something here, I don't want to miss out on this. And then you're basically creating moments which you're not relying on the track which you're playing to create these moments. You're creating moments out of thin air. So much fun to have on this. I've done 10 minutes. I'm going to show you a couple more really good examples of just where you see these in some absolute Toolroom and other classics. Feel My Needs, you know, house classic, let alone Toolroom classic. We've got this lovely little a cappella section, so we can play this over tracks. So much fun to have with that. This is another good one. So I will sometimes use this track. I'll just loop the a cappella sections in. I might not even bring the track in altogether. I might just steal the vocal bits and use it for mixing over other tracks. So that was initially a 2-beat loop, and again, just creating more. It's like quite hypnotic, that vocal, just going around, I want. And as well, if you're playing this in a track, this is a very well-known house track, you guys will realise if you haven't realised it already. But when you're hearing it mixed over a less well-known track, you're kind of thinking, oh, I know this vocal from somewhere, where do I know it from? So then if you... play some of the more well-known bits, what I would do here is I'd maybe filter down the outgoing track, let this loop over for a bit, make sure the bass is cut, add some echoes, create a moment from nothing, and then when I'm ready to, pull out that tension, let the tension drive, and then when I'm ready, just release it. Keep the bass off, now bring the bass in.
Caress me, your touch is sending me.
Honestly, when you do this sort of stuff live, it's so good. So I'll show you one more example, just again to illustrate how many of these you can see in every track. Yeah, hopefully you'll recognise this one again. And at the start,
This is the rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm. This is the rhythm. This is the rhythm of the night.
so again, you just create your own little intro out there rather than playing it from where the beat starts. This track actually goes straight into the main part of the music. So creating intros, getting creative with how you use your tracks in different ways. So those are my outro messages. Learn your music, like less is more. Like don't buy every single track you ever hear, every track your mate's got, every track which is on Beatport. You don't need it all. Like focus on the tracks which you love and you can pick apart and really maximise to the full. Go home and play music in a new way. Let me know how you're playing it. I'd love to see some stories and videos tagged on social media. Experiment, like play around in Rekordbox first, then test it on the decks. It won't always work at first, but the point is it's trial and error. See what works, and then you can perform it live with confidence and make mistakes. And then also go check out the masterclass course. That was a 10-minute snapshot of a 16-hour masterclass course. Everything I would want to know about DJing if I was starting today, from fundamentals to getting creative and technical and confident on the deck. So hope you found it useful.
Please give it up for Dev, guys. Amazing stuff.